The kids learning. We're teaching them at a young age.
Say Classic Superbikes.
Classic Superbikes.
Yeah! That's the new intro.
Stock City Trail, one time. On my way downtown for the girl who got the guarantee. Man, I killed the town. 7-seater in the Cherokee. White on white ghost. That's my little Amber Rose. Let the top peel back. Let Saga see the Mac. Little short in front away.
Well, today's episode is about two bikes. This one and this one. And a more important question. Did I f them up? We're going to answer that and more all on today's episode of Classic Superbikes. Yeah, I don't really like that intro either, but trying out new things. Okay, so let me catch you guys up. I did carbs on this bike. It was running pretty good. It was just running a little lean, having some starting problems. Just needed the carbs cleaned up. It was leaking a little bit out of the carbs too. That one didn't run at all. So now that they're both running, they're having the same problem. After they warm up, they're getting a really high idle, like a 4,000, 3,000 RPM idle. And it's not any of the throttle cables sticking, but I have narrowed it down to two possibilities. I haven't tested much of those carbs, but I did test for vacuum leaks, like everywhere on those carbs. And there doesn't appear to be any external vacuum leaks. I tested these carbs, and I tested the fuel system, and I noticed the floats were not doing their job, and they were overfilling with fuel. And because of that, these had cheap aftermarket float needles and valves in them. That one has higher end, but also aftermarket float needles and valves in them. And I'm wondering if there might be a connection, because I dug deeper and I heard some, just all around reviews online that really, really stress if you're going to replace anything on a carburetor other than a gasket, to use OEM parts. So in this box, that's exactly what we have. So behind door number 1, we got some absolutely cost an arm and a leg, but they look phenomenal. Oh, whoops. They cost an arm and a leg, but they look phenomenal. OEM Suzuki float pins and needles, straight out of the 80s. It's really awesome seeing this stuff. So, Suzuki genuine parts, SGP. Sweet. That's very cool. Zoom in on that. Look at that. Very cool stuff. So we're going to put these in here to eliminate once and for all. Well, I guess let me explain. If these fix it, then that means I didn't up. And I was right. I shouldn't use inferior parts. Should have just stuck to the OEM stuff. However, the other possibility is I polished these slide bores. And apparently you're not supposed to do that. I mean, it shouldn't affect it, but it's not really recommended. The only time you should really do it is if they're absolutely rusted beyond belief, which a couple of these slides were sticking and there was some corrosion, but I probably could have gotten away with not polishing it if I really wanted to, if I just kind of cleaned them up really good and maybe put a little bit of PTFE lube on the slide bores. But there's a problem, supposedly, if you over polish these, that the slides themselves, they're supposed to go on a delay, and supposedly that's a little too fast. They're supposed to take at least 2 seconds to fall. And there's actually, I found, a Teflon coating, an invisible Teflon coating that's on these slide bores from the factory, and they're calibrated very precisely to make them fall at a very specific rate. And so you're not supposed to polish them because you'll remove that Teflon coating and you'll disturb the airflow metering of how it's designed to properly work. Now, these are a set of OEM carbs, identical to those that I snagged in case this is my f***, because obviously I polished those bores. So if those bores are causing this issue, and I guess let me explain how it could be causing it. So it could be, vacuum could be traveling around the slide bores and either drawing them up or drawing fuel up and causing the RPM to idle higher, or it could just be drawing more air in and causing the RPM to rise. Now these are OEM ones. You can see that the slides drop a little bit slower. So not significantly different, but enough, you know. So the plan is, for starters, I'm gonna put these OEM float needles in there because I've already confirmed that in the previous video, go watch it on the Wes Cooley Suzuki, that the fuel was too high. The fuel level is way too high. So we're gonna try this first. This eliminates our issue completely, because you gotta understand, on a carburetor with CV style pistons in there, these are not designed, what they're designed for is for the EPA. This is to, when you wide open throttle, the butterfly valve opens, but instead of sucking a bunch of air in and raising the needle, you got a vacuum control piston that will slowly raise in a delay to prevent you from dumping a bunch of excess fuel in when you're rolling the throttle on really fast. Again, it's not, you know, it's an EPA thing. If you switch this to a performance part from the time, you'd have something called slide carburetors, which instead of opening the butterfly and using air to suck up the piston, which reveals the fuel and sucks in more fuel, you have slides, which are basically that piston, but attached to the throttle. So there is no, these butterflies don't actuate. You're literally lifting up and down a slide, and they're way better, way more responsive. They're used in performance applications. So why don't they use them on production bikes of the era? That is because they rattle and they clack really loud, and it's really annoying. So it makes the bike sound broken. Therefore, they took them off and they do not run them. Interestingly enough, there are some carbureted Ducatis out there, and when you find them, you'll find that they have slide carburetors on them. And again, it's a performance thing. Much better for responsiveness. Not great for sounding cool. Anyway, the plan is, let's get those on, see if this fixes it. Because if this fixes this bike, that means it fixes both bikes. So we're going to try and kill two birds with one stone today. See if it works out. Oh, I wanted to explain this diagram, why I think it's the fuel. So this side is on the engine, okay? And when you open your throttle, these butterflies actuate, okay? But when they open up, they're blocked by those. So when they open up, they draw a vacuum, which sucks in air and raises this needle, which that needle comes up, and that's on top of a fuel valve, and that allows fuel to start pouring out of that valve into the line of air and getting sucked into the engine. Now, an interesting observation was that the RPMs were climbing really high on the bike when it was getting hot, but the throttle was not stuck. And if you remember, this is on the engine side. This is pretty much, it's not fully sealed, but there's very little air that's getting in when it's got a vacuum on it. There is, however, holes up here. I don't know if you're going to see them. Yeah, there they are. See those holes? That's where fuel and air bypasses the entire circuit on the choke circuit right here, which basically reveals, see that? Right there. Watch, right there. So that is what sucks in and mixes fuel with the air. However, when you look at this diagram, there's air constantly flowing through that choke circuit. The white is the air, this little gray is the fuel-air mix, and then the black is the fuel. So there's air always getting sucked in, and it's getting sucked in through this port right here. This is a air jet. It's hard to see in there, but there's a little needle in there. It looks just like the fuel jet. It's an air jet. Gets sucked in through there. It's always being sucked in, and it passes by this fuel circuit here. And as the fuel level rises in the main jet, it crosses in this bypass. And when it's at the proper level, it's sitting just below this air loop-de-loop right here, this little U-turn, okay? and the air is glossing over it. It's passing by, going over. When the float is overfilled, like you saw in the other video, it's now directly in the line of air, which means there's fuel getting sucked in, and it's bypassing the choke circuit, and it's flowing straight into the carburetor through the vacuum pole for the choke. And that's how, with everything closed and no throttle, the RPMs are increasing to a certain amount before it taps out at the size of that opening. And that's the largest opening that can provide the most fuel. That's the RPMs that it hangs at, and it won't go down from there. So that's the theory of why I think it's the fuel and why I think this is gonna fix it. But we're not gonna know for sure until we tear into it. So let's get going. Cue the cinematics. I just wanted to talk a second here. OEM parts, 10 out of 10 on the presentation. Check that out. Comes in this little silicone sealed case. Oh, all right. Look at that. Oh, and that needle is so smooth. Just actuates so much nicer than the... Look at that. Nice. Quality parts. I'm very excited to install these. All right, and then this, shout out to good friend Case for putting me onto this. So this is a trick that a good friend of his taught him, and it was to pack the float valves, the needles, with petroleum jelly, Vaseline, right? Because it's made of petroleum, so it dissolves in gasoline. It won't clog up the jets or anything, and it just helps give it a little bit of lubrication so they don't get stuck. Because sometimes there's little burrs and little fine machining marks that are on the brand new parts, and they can cause it to hang up. So this is the completed OEM Suzuki needle valve. We transferred the aftermarket fuel filter, which is something now that I'm realizing, looking at these two, from the original OEM and the new OEM, the aftermarket fuel filter, the white one, looks a little bit different, a little shorter, a little different shape. So that's something I could look into for the clearancing being different. But in the meantime, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pack this needle with some petroleum jelly to see if we can get it to just make sure it doesn't stick, you know? Just pack it on there. He said he was using a ton of it on there. And, oh, and they were having the same issue on a Goldwing. It warmed up after carb rebuild, and it was the floats were stuck. So, like I said, it's a common problem. Happens more often than you think. It's people underestimate how important the float system is in you know, the functioning of your carburetors. It's quite literally, it's the thing you deal with the most, because when they gunk up, got that nice and lubed up in there. Gonna lubricate the outside of this so it drops in there real nice. That is ready to go in. I don't know if you guys can see back here. I'm gonna pop this bad boy in. There we go, nice and gentle. And now we are ready to throw our float on. Let's see how this thing sits now. All right, let's measure this and see where we're at. 22.4. All right, at the highest point inside the gasket seat. Oh yeah, oh wow. Holy moly, look at the difference on that. I'll tell you right now, let me zero this out and I'll tell you exactly how much. 2.5 millimeter difference, and the Suzuki manual says that it can only be within 1 millimeter of the tolerance window, which if these are at 20.4, so how tall are these actually? I think that's good. 25.4, so there you go. So that it's outside that window by more than 1 millimeter. But you know, the thing that gets me a little bit concerned is being higher. I guess the needle geometry would have been different, but technically it being higher would mean that it would shut off sooner. So whatever. Anyway, we're just gonna slap them in and see if they work, and I'm gonna quit getting bogged down on the engineering of all this. Put the float bowl back on, and we are done, and I'm gonna knock the rest of these out. Bring you guys back when I'm done with that. Okay, so before I put these on and find out if I'm a total failure or not, I want to talk about these slides just one more time, because the main issue that we're discussing here is, are the floats bad? Like the float pin's not sealing properly, and that's why the fuel level's not proper, and it's drawing extra fuel in, and that's what's causing it to idle so high? Or did I, by polishing the Teflon coating off of these, and again, these were corroded, you know, I didn't just arbitrarily do this. There was 2 of these that were sticking. So I did this to break them free, because you think, you know, they should function smoothly. But as I've learned now, there's a lot of engineering that goes into making these slides fall and drop at a very specific rate. Now, if you look at these 2 together, let me set the camera on a tripod so you can see this in real time. What I'm going to do is I'm going to drop both the OEM unpolished slides and then the ones that I polished up at the same time, so you can see exactly how much delay there is. And it's not a lot, you know. All right, hopefully this will be good enough where you can see and this won't fall over. So if I release these at the exact same time, pretty dang close. But when I'm pressing this one up, there's very little force. You know, I can just, it's really easy. This one, it takes a lot more force, especially as you get to the top here. Like a lot, you know? Whereas this one, it's consistent all the way to the top here. There's no additional force required. It's very easy to lift up. Especially this one's really tough, you know? So it's not a lot of delay in time, but it could be a huge discrepancy in force. And I say all this to say, the reason that these slides are even here is on original old school carburetors. Like if you watch the ATC 90 video that I did, that has cable slide carburetors. So you turn the throttle and it draws up the slide, and that just adds more air, which sucks in more fuel. Now the problem with slide carbs or whatever is, again, if you just rip open the throttle like super fast, you basically start sucking in more air. Like you just went from like a certain amount of vacuum pressure to just wide open, just like opening all this air up. And because there's so much more space, like if you think about like a vacuum cleaner, like the normal nozzle on a vacuum cleaner, right? And then you put that like needle nose tip on there, like for getting into little corners and shit. When you put that really thin, really small hole tip on the same size opening, the vacuum doesn't increase in speed, but it increases in suction because there's less space. So the less space there is, the more vacuum pressure there can be. And then when you snap open the slide on a cable-driven slide carburetor, it just wide open, you got all this space. So all this air just like rushes in and it stalls out, kind of like how planes can stall out. And the reason it's a problem is because all these other passageways here, they all function on vacuum pressure being drawn through the carburetor. So when you don't have that, everything kind of stops. Fuel stops, you get this little lean spot. So the reason for these slide pistons is that when you snap open the butterflies on the other side, you can whip them open as fast as you want, but it's the air pressure being sucked in through here by the engine that will draw up this carburetor. So when you open that butterfly, it allows more air to flow, but until the engine catches up in speed, these don't open up. They open up kind of gradually, right? And for that reason, they have to be set at an exact pressure and an exact height. And they have to operate on a certain amount of resistance. And because of that, it'll delay. The reason for that is it'll delay that. I guess the reason when you snap that cable open on that like ATC 90 or whatever, an old school slide carburetor, if you just snap it open real fast, the engine will kind of like it'll like bog down, and like when it does that, you got to wait for the engine to kind of catch up, and then it'll, you know, and the slides stop that. They're set at the exact rate that the engine speed needs to be in order to not bog it down, so that you're always delivering the right amount of power for the amount of fuel that you have, and it prevents the engine from going too lean, from you just snapping the throttle. So you can just rip the throttle as hard as you want, but the bike won't, you know, improperly accelerate. When you polish these bores like I did, potentially, now I don't know, this is an experiment now, potentially it's possible that these slides will no longer operate with the proper amount of resistance, and they might open more quickly. And if they open more quickly, they could allow the engine to bog a little bit, and you could potentially get these lean spots in your fuel map under hard acceleration. Now to clarify, with them fully functioning absolutely correctly, what would happen under full acceleration is the bike just wouldn't accelerate. It would just, you know, it slowly kind of like, you hit the throttle hard and it kind of works its way up. Versus with this, it'll kind of like, and it'll kind of stall for a second, and, you know, you can modulate this with the throttle pressure. It's not like you can't operate around it, and I don't even know how bad it would be really, because I haven't tested it yet. But it might not really be too, you know, you really notice this more under load than you would under just free revving it. But either way, we're going to throw these on just to test to see if we can get that idle normal, because this is not, I just don't think this is a condition that would be caused at idle, you know. Like, this is just, to me, this is a condition that would affect maybe under load or loaded operation. You'd see that bogging or something. So let's get these on. Let's see what happens. And then hopefully it works. Hopefully we figured it out. All right, clear tube test. Let's see if these floats did anything. Oh. Oh, it's leaking. Oh, shit. Okay, take two. Hopefully less leaking now. All right. Oh, for sake. Why are you still leaking? All right, well, the good news is, despite it leaking like piss out of the bowls, the level is not going above that, which I don't think has anything to do with the leaking right now. I gotta yank these off and tighten these bowls up. But so far, that's a lot more promising than it was before. A lot more. All right, let me get all this gasoline infused bullshit off. All right, it's now 2 o'clock. Just endless problems. My auxiliary fuel tank started leaking. So I thought it was leaking out of the seam on this bottle, but luckily I tested it and ended up being this hose was just so brittle. There you go, guys. Rubber hoses. I mean, this thing's only a couple months old, and already just from having fuel through it a couple times, I don't even take that part on and off. It just died out on me. Started leaking real bad. These obviously were leaking. So let's find out, were they leaking because of the fact that I didn't tighten something, or again, gaskets, they go bad, or what happened with that? So let's find out. Test number 2. Okay, got fuel. I don't see any leaking. I don't see any leaking. Oh, we got leaking out of that one. God. All right. Maybe the gaskets finally went. I don't know. I gotta take a look. See what's going on. Always something. All right, so it looks like it's leaking the most out of the one closest here. What's going on? Am I out of fuel? Oh, I turned the fuel off. There we go, turn that back on. Looks like it's leaking out of this furthest one on the right. It's mostly leaking out of, it looks like it's mostly leaking out of these two right here. It's especially bad leaking out of this one because you'll see it's dripping out of there, out of the front of it. None of the other ones are dripping from the front. These are all dripping from the bottom, from the float bowls. Initial thoughts. I think the the pins might be stuck. Totally normal. Just mess around with them a little bit. Or those gaskets are bad. You know, I don't know. Those are really cheap gaskets. They could, after about 3-4 times on and off, could be kind of it for them. Once they suck up and absorb fuel, sometimes these gaskets end up not holding out. So, I don't know. Might be a part 3. Might be a part 3. Okay, so old bikes. I literally ripped these carbs apart. I compared them to the other ones. Made sure, double-checked gaskets, everything. Everything was good. The floats weren't stuck or nothing. And just for shits and giggles, I'm like, you know what? I don't want it to leak gas all over, so I'm just going to fill this with water so that I don't, you know, get a bunch of toxic chemicals. This is all filled up. You got to take my word for it. It's all filled up. Hold on. Let me turn the gas back on. Hold on. Please hold. Sorry. Gas, water, whatever. Okay. So I have this float bowl taken apart on the bottom. No leaks from any of these. Nowhere. Now they're working perfect. And watch. Closes, opens, closes. So all the floats are working. I don't know what the I did. I guess they're good. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. What is with these bikes, dude? I swear to God. Well, congrats. I'm an amazing mechanic. I fixed it by doing absolutely nothing. I have no idea what I did. Don't ask me to explain it. But that'll be $5 billion. You can just put it on my tab. Oh my God. I really don't know, guys. Maybe the floats are a little stuck and now they're not stuck. I don't know. It's working. It's working now. Let's put some gas in it and see if it leaks. All right, I just want to get this tomfoolery on camera because now we got gas in it. Oh, why is it leaking? Why are you leaking, God? This is insane. I don't know what the is going on with this, so I don't know. I give up for today, for right now. I'm just gonna. What? Okay, I'm gonna call this progress. Everything is good now. Remember, this one was leaking really bad. This one was leaking a little bit. This one wasn't leaking. And this one was leaking really bad. Now, everything's not leaking, except for this one, which is leaking pretty bad. The float's, for some reason, getting stuck or something. So, I'm just gonna do what I did on that one. I'm just gonna pull the float apart again. Just play with it, I guess, and put it back, which is what I did. But you can see as soon as I turn this fuel on, watch, it's going to start come dripping out of here. There we go. Can't really see it, but here we go. See, it's dripping. So that float is not working for some reason. And what's crazy is that's the one that we tested off of the thing, and it seemed to be working fine. So I don't understand this. Okay, I have no idea how to explain this, but it has, for absolutely no apparent reason at all. I cannot even explain to you the fact that I haven't done anything. It is now working. Actually, that's wrong. Here's what I did. I picked it up very gently like this. And like a little baby, I just jiggled it like this. Okay, I just went da-da-da-da-da. Shaked it like a little, just a little. And then I set it back down. And it's working! I don't know. I just, should I put these even on? Should I put these on? They're so delicate. They seem like they're working now. There's nothing leaking out. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go put some food in my body. Maybe this is just some sort of horrible nightmare and I haven't woken up yet. And then I'm going to come back. And if all that gas is still in there, I'm going to mark it real quick. Let's get a Sharpie. What did I do with my Sharpie? Oh no. Oh, it's lost in the... Oh, it's in the ether. In the ether. Just like the answers to why these carbs are all of a sudden working. So look at this. It's bone dry in there now. Hell. That's crazy. Okay. There we go. Found the Sharpie. Okay. Whoopa. Let's go. Let's see here. We are at... Oh. Right. Okay. Looks about right. If it doesn't drop significantly from that amount, we know we're good. Okay, I'm gonna forget that this ever happened. I'm gonna go get some lunch and late lunch. And let's just see. Let's just see what happens with this. I don't know what's going on. But they're working! I am the best mechanic that has ever lived. Bam. Till literally the next thing breaks, then I'm an absolute buffoon. I have no idea what I'm doing. Alright, it's all back together. I just gotta put the rest of the airbox in. This is an absolute nightmare to get this shit on, I swear to God. And initial observations, you're not gonna really be able to see in there, but... Well, you just have to take my word for it. Dry as a bone in there right now. Had the fuel on for a minute. Yeah, let's, I don't know. I'm just, everything I do on this, it's just, I make it worse, so I don't know. Have we finally reached rock bottom? Is this it? Let me get this airbox on and then we'll fire it up and see what happens. Okay, everything is back together, buttoned up. We got the vacuum hose blocked off for the vacuum petcock. I got the fuel in there. Doesn't look like it's leaking. Oh, please don't be leaking. Crank breathers are attached to the airbox. Air filter is in. Everything is as it should be. Choke is attached. Throttle is attached. Alright. Me. Wish me luck. Let's fuel on. There we go. Come on. It wants to start. Alright, I might have to do this two-handed. Well, that's a lot better. It sounds a lot smoother, I swear. It's weird, it doesn't want to run on. Alright, it does not want to run off a choke. I can work with this. I can work with this. I'm gonna have to kind of mull this over because I'm wondering, I think I'm probably gonna end up swapping those other carburetors onto this one just to see if I can get both the choke and the normal idle. Oh my god, it is bad in here. But what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, you know, possibly if polishing those slides gave it a little bit too much vacuum when the throttle is opening, but it did get a few good revs in there. You didn't catch it because I did it off camera, but with the choke on and the engine warmed up, it started to rev and it was really nice. It was really responsive. So I kind of want to see if I can make these carbs work, because I think if you do it right, you can get a little bit more throttle response. I think I might have to open up the pilot jets a little bit. I got them 2 turns out. I don't know. I couldn't find a spec in the manual. And I feel like it's more like 3 1/4, because I think that's what they were originally. So I might mess with this a little bit more. I have to see, but way better. All right, and we're back, and it's a mess in here again. 24 hours. It's been 24 hours. I have some plans. I have some thoughts. Got to take these carbs off again. I got these carbs. I just spoke to Dan, and he wants to bring the bike to a pretty cool vintage bike show that happens at Road America, which is a big racetrack around here, during the Superbike racing weekend that they got. I think he goes every year. And so we have to figure out, because he's like, I just want to ride it around in the pit. So I got to get this thing running. I have to figure out, it was running when it came here. You know, even though it wasn't perfect, it was running when it came here. And now it's idling and stalling, and it's just overall worse. So, you know, great job, Mark. You're the best. Fucking great job. So, let me get all this stuff moved around. Let me get this lift cleared out. I was doing some ECU coating stuff on these BMWs. Just service interval stuff. These newer bikes, they have a lot of computers on them. And everything's got to be, you know, even oil changes and basic service intervals have to be reset by the dealer and their fancy tools, or some of the, you know, lucky independents out there that get their hands on equipment that can scan and code some of these bikes. Usually they're maintained by these small communities. So we were actually using the GS1000, which is by Hex. It's a guy, and my dad was telling me about it. It's a guy in Europe, and he maintains all the servers and everything for the software, and it's pretty sweet. I had to do a bunch of updates on it, like the software, to make it work. But as of today in 2025, if you're looking to buy that, 2026, I guess, if you're looking to get a tool, I think that's like one of the best priced ones that does all the BMW stuff. I mean, it had no problem. Initially, it did have an issue, but once it updated, it was fine. And, you know, the thing with these bikes is that I don't know if these are new enough yet, but modern day vehicles, at least, they have Wi-Fi, and they connect to, once they're in a dealership and the computer connects via Wi-Fi to the servers of the manufacturer. So like BMW and Porsche and, you know, all these different manufacturers, they have their own servers. And sometimes they'll push updates to these bikes where if they find out a company has some sort of aftermarket software solution to do the coding and do the programming, they will push updates to make these things not, like the tools will no longer work. It will just like lose functionality. They also, some of these tools require subscriptions to stay active and stuff like that. So just keep in mind, I think I'm going to make a whole video about diagnostic equipment, like electronic diagnostic tools very soon here, because there is a, it's just really difficult. There isn't a one tool fits all solution. Like even if you had $1 million, you're not allowed to buy the dealer equipment, and there isn't like an equivalent singular tool that'll do everything. There's kind of, you need multiple tools to do different bikes and different brands and different eras. And I kind of want to put together a video explaining how to navigate that, you know, those products and pick the best one for yourself. But one of the most important things to look at is there a big community behind the product, and who's supporting the product, because somebody's got to pay to keep the servers on. Somebody's got to pay to keep it all running, and all the support and the updates as they get pushed out. So again, as of, you know, today, that Hex GS911 device is still active, still functioning, still clearing codes, and that one I believe is a 2021. So BMW doesn't even have the service manuals for those online anymore. They're it's getting really hard to work on bikes. So just so you know, if you guys call me about, you know, late model stuff, there's a good chance I can't really do much about it. I'm happy to do diagnosis, but a lot of these bikes, it's all computer stuff. So, okay, back to the video. I swear, I'm so close. I think I can make these carbs work. I'm going to take them apart, and I'm going to show you what I'm talking about in terms of, you know, because the only thing, did I over polish them? Is that why I got this big vacuum leak and no throttle? I don't think so, but I might have to eat my own words here. We're going to rip them off, and probably not even going to show you that process because it's just a nightmare, but all right. Okay, and there it is. I don't know about you guys, but I think the shop looks so much better with a vintage bike on that lift. It is such a good looking bike. It's a damn shame we have now ruined it completely to the point of just being wall art. But like I said, guys, I have a good feeling about today. I just feel like the universe is behind us, and we are hoping that when we take these carbs off, well, first, I guess let me explain why do I, you know, because part of what makes taking these carbs on and off so difficult is because this airbox has to be installed first, and there's like very little room to get these in. And the reason the airbox is on there is obviously you need it to prevent vacuum leaks on these carbs. They suck a little extra air when you don't put the specified airbox from the factory on there, and they tend to run a little lean, which means they could idle a little high. And that's why it's on right now, because normally for testing purposes, you could just not put the airbox in, and then it's a lot easier to take the carbs on and off. But remember, the first time I put these on, I thought that they were totally fixed because I had just rebuilt them. Everything was good. And then we had that problem, that super high idle. That's when I ripped them off the second time. And then we put the OEM Suzuki needles in there. And then again, just to mitigate the high idle, because I'd have to put the carbs on and pop them off again and put them back on to get the airbox back on. So I decided to just do it right the first time in case there was, you know, just to minimize that high idle as much as possible. And now that we've fixed it and it's working, idling properly, at least on choke only, now we got to get it to regular idle. So let's just hope and pray that when we take these float bowls off, the pilot jets are just schmooed up with some of that Vaseline petroleum grease, which it dissolves in gasoline, but you know, it doesn't completely fully dissolve that fast, and it'll plug up possibly a pilot jet if it's a little too thick. So just in case, dot our I's, cross our T's, we're gonna check that. So anyway, Yeah, let me get to it. Oh, and it just started to rain, guys. Look at that. I swear, rainy carburetor days are the best. Because it's all bench work and stuff, so. Okay, these are just about ready to come off. I've drained them. I got my table set here. Third time's the charm, guys. Third time's the charm. I am gonna go make some tea and I'll be back. All right, initial observations. Yeah, I don't know if you can see that. See all that petroleum jelly in there? I think this might have been a contributing factor. I think I just need to give these carbs another really good clean. When I spoke to the customer, you know, he also brought up a good point about these float bowl gaskets, which I sometimes forget too, that, you know, when they're dry, especially if you've used them a lot and they're cheaper, when you first put them on, sometimes they got to suck up a little bit of gas before they seal up. They kind of like swell up, and you know, that's probably part of the reason why they also started just spontaneously working. Although the floats, I should caveat that with, the floats are supposed to stop them from ever reaching that level. So the floats were also stuck on those carbs, but at some point the bowls were also, you know, they did a better job of sealing. So anyway, yeah, this is promising. This is very promising. I'm hoping we're gonna just find shmoo everywhere. How fun would that be? Because, you know, if this works and this fixes it, those polished slides should give it a little bit of a snappier throttle response. So I'm really kind of pulling for this working out, because I want to use those original carbs on there. I mean, it'd be nice. It's designed for it, but that's backup plan. That's plan B. These are, I think, off of a Yamaha. The jets are 127.5. I don't know. Did I say this already? Did I bring this up in the video? Well, if I haven't, 127.5. These, I believe, are 117 or 107s, I think they were. So, a bit of a step up, but what we could do is put pods on it, and it already has the 4-to-1 exhaust. So, might end up just doing a little bit of a jet kick, because I believe this has a slightly... the ramping on this, I think, is a little bit different. The shape of it, it's a little bit more expanded, so it flows a little bit more air. I think. Don't quote me on any of this stuff. Man, look at that. Look at how bad it is. Jeez. Well, that was in there, so. Uh-oh. Good vibes only today. Good vibes only. All other vibes will be unacceptable. Let's do this. All right, carbs are off the bike again. It's a little hard to see on camera, but there's like see that yellowish green tinge? That's fuel, and means it was leaking. So I don't know. I hope these weren't flooding. I gotta take these apart and see what's going on. I've just been plagued with issue after issue on these carburetors, and I think it's all self-inflicted. Whatever I'm doing, I'm always doing something to affect something else, and it's all just little things, but just keep chasing my tail in a circle on this one. So let me pull these apart again, and I definitely think the pilot jets are clogged, but that's neither here nor there. Let me figure out why these are flooding as well. So stay tuned, hopefully, for a positive update. Okay, things are starting to finally look up for me. It's hard to see, but there's little bits of shmoo in there, which is that, again, Vaseline petroleum jelly. So to clarify, I put that in there just as a fail-safe to keep the floats from sticking. If you've ever worked on carburetors before, it's no matter what you do, the floats just sometimes they stick, even if they're brand new, as you can see with these being brand new. Even with the Vaseline, they still got stuck initially when I was putting them together, and it looks like they might have even been sticking while I was running, because it looked like it might have been a little bit of flooding going on there too. So although that could have also just been caused by the extreme clogging, which let me show you what that was. So I just pulled the cap here for the pilot jet, and you can already tell without even having to pull it that it's clogged, because if you look down in there, you might not be able to see it, but there is, let me see if I can zoom in here for you. There we go. See that? There is fuel sitting on top of that jet. That's a hole. A jet is it's like a screw with a specific size hole in it for fuel to flow. So there's no reason for fuel ever to be sitting on top of it. That would mean that the hole is clogged and it's not getting through. And that's the idle jet. This is what's responsible for just idling it. Your main jets are okay. These usually don't clog, but you know, I kind of knew this was going to happen. I sort of was doing this because it was more freaking me out, that really high idle and not seeing anything fundamentally wrong with the float system and measuring it and getting all the right measurements, and just starting to drive myself crazy that I was so nervous about these floats. Just, I wanted them to function perfectly. I was more concerned about it leaking and flooding than I was really about it properly running. So, and oh, let me show you guys the vacuum test as well on the slides. So I got to flip these over, so I'm going to very carefully just flip these over here. There we go. Okay, now let me show you this very cool vacuum test. So how do we know if, because you know, I had this concern, right? Did I ruin these slides? Was it me? You can see I pulled one out of here, but here's how you can tell. Basically, you push up the slide all the way, and then you hold your finger, your thumb, over this hole. And let me see if I can set the camera down to show you guys. There we go. Okay. All right. So when I lift this up, this is the vacuum like port for the CV carb for lifting it up. When I put my finger over this, if there's a bad vacuum, it's going to fall really fast. If the vacuum is good, meaning I didn't over polish it, it's totally sealing fine, then the slide will fall normally. So I'm going to go ahead and let go. See that? When I release my finger, it falls. It means it's holding vacuum pressure, so that's not the issue, unfortunately. Well, fortunately, for me, I mean, I'm really happy that, you know, I didn't ruin a set of carburetors. But unfortunately for the customer, we got to figure out what's going on. But like I said, I think this has just been all clogged up with that, me putting too much Vaseline on there, just overdoing it on purpose, kind of. Just to make sure that those floats didn't stick. Now that they're nice and lubricated and everything's kind of settled, I'm really happy with that. I'm just going to clean through those ports, clean the jets, and slap these back on there, and hopefully she runs, guys. Alright, it's a little hard to tell on camera, but pilot jets are a little clogged. I think they are. I'm pretty sure they are. You can see there's some of the holes on the side are plugged up. Again, just too much of that Vaseline. I don't think there's a problem with using it to lubricate those float pins. The problem I had is I put too much on these posts here when I was inserting this pin for the floats, and I think some of that just kind of dissolved around there and clogged this stuff up. So just gonna give it a good clean, carburetor clean through all the passages. I got anything O-ring out, anything rubber out. And I think these will be good. I'm going to clean the jets again. Maybe I'll pop them in the ultrasonic just for a second, just to get them nice and clean. And then try this one more time. Guys, the more I take this apart, the better I'm starting to feel. I mean, you could just feel the tips of these needles, and they got like Vaseline on them, clogging them, which means, you know, that was inside the jet needles. So it was just all schmooed up all up inside there. I mean, hopefully that's just, you know, that's all that's left. We hopefully fixed the leaking, because remember, originally the bike ran fine. I didn't, you know, if I hadn't touched it, it'd still be running right now. Although it was leaking a little bit of gas and was running a little bit lean. Found that there was that vacuum line was super cracked to the petcock. Probably had some fuel starvation. Everything else was kind of okay. The gaskets were leaking a little bit. The floats were super gunked up, which was leading to that starvation. So then we cleaned it, should have fixed it, used the wrong float seats and or the wrong needle seats and needles, and then it was over flooding basically. Now we took it apart and had the OEM needle seats in there, but had them all gunked up with Vaseline, and that Vaseline clogged all the pores of everything, all the jets, and now they're all gunked up again, and we're back to square one. I will say though, they look fantastic. You can see that's kind of what they started out like. So this is a before, and there's an after. So at least they look good. Okay, I already know I said it 500 times in this video, but be careful with, don't do what I did and use too much of this petroleum jelly. Look at, I'm going to set this down here and I'm going to zoom in. You can see the, look at that. Look at that. You can literally see it on there. That's crazy. Alright, isn't this a familiar sight, huh? So I got these all ripped apart, and while I had them apart, I thought I'd just give you guys a real quick pro tip here. When you're cleaning carburetors, because it's, again, this is just part of owning carbureted things, you gotta clean them. The best, absolute best way to do it, obviously cleaning out the jets, you know, you want to soak them a few hours. I got them in some carb clean. I'll probably leave them there for a couple more hours. But the most important thing is you want to take a second to look up your specific carburetor on the internet. There'll be diagrams of it. And just see where the fuel is supposed to flow, like where the air jet is. And you want to blow your carburetor cleaner through that jet and watch it pop out through the other side. And then and only then will you know that it's 100% clear and fuel is getting exactly where it needs to go. And then you want to repeat that process for the choke circuit and all the other, anywhere where there's fuel that's going to run out. On this particular carburetor, there's a tiny pinhole on the top for the choke circuit. So you want to make sure that that's all clear, otherwise your bike won't run properly when the choke is on. And then the main one here is the air jet, which is right here. If you just take your carb clean and you just line it up with that air jet there, and if you watch inside, see it bubbling out there? See that spraying on the back of that throttle? That jet coming up, squirting up from the bottom? Then you know it's good. And you want to go through all these little holes, not all these holes, just these air jets where you can see where the fuel flows. You want to go through all of them, let it soak, blow it through, take some air, blow that through, get it all, make sure everything's clear, everything's functioning. You know, see it's so, you know, I'm just going through this one super methodically. I don't think I did a good enough job of doing this the first time. So honestly, this is just my little comeuppance for taking shortcuts, but I'm having a really good feeling about how these are gonna run tomorrow. I got the bowls in the ultrasonic cleaner, and then everything else is ready to go on. I can't remember. I think these needles were like this, I believe. Just this little bit of coating. The zinc plating, I think, was worn off on some of the tips. So I think that should be fine. I don't think that's going to cause really a problem, but just some things I observed. And then obviously we got the jets in here. This is, I already ultrasonic cleaned them. Ultrasonic cleaning is not the end all be all, you know. So I got it soaking in some carb clean now. I already did this one round and blew them out, let them dry, and redid them now. So I'm gonna let them sit and cook here for probably another, like I said, like 2-3 hours maybe. So this is what I've been using. This isn't really the best. I'm not advocating for this. You want to find a carburetor cleaner that is safe. I think I was telling you this, the difference between carb cleaner and brake cleaner. Carburetor cleaner is safe on these O-rings. I can't remember if I talked about this stuff already. If I talked about, sorry, these videos are just getting a little bit out of hand, guys. It's just been getting a little bit crazy, but I think we're making progress. I think we are making progress, and my God, does this thing look awesome. Cannot wait. Cannot wait. Got that Ducati back there. Gonna get that on the lift next week. See what's going on with that. Why is that guy leaking oil? Looking pretty sweet over there. Got it on the charge right now. I don't think it's been started in like 2 years, so probably get it topped up and started for the first time. See what's going on with that. But first, are we gonna fix it? Are we gonna fix it? Stay tuned. I don't even know right now. I don't even know, but I am super excited. And if we can't get this to work, I'm pretty sure those carbs will work. And I found out some interesting facts about these carbs. They are modified, I believe either Kawasaki or Yamaha. It could be on either one. It's the same kind of set because they've been modified, so there's no way to know for sure. To 127.5 mains and 47.5 idles, which is normally like 35s. The bike that this was on had pod filters and an exhaust, and it was kind of hot rodded. So these are actually some hot carbs. If these don't end up working out, although they look so good, I mean, God, they look great. I really hope these work out because it is nice to see these back on the bike. But if these don't work out, these will be going on there. And if these do work out, I'm going to take these, and I think I might repurpose them for that engine over there and bore it out and go a little crazy. Although I did kind of want to do flat slide carbs, so maybe I won't end up using these, but we'll see. I'm going to do something with those carbs. Okay, cut back to, I don't know when I'm putting them together or something. All right, and they are all back together, as you can see. Got them hooked up to the auxiliary fuel tank. So got them testing right now for leaks, just doing a static leak test here on the bench. So far so good. Everything's good. I mean, way better than last time. Oh, the big difference, shout out to my customer Dan, soaked the gaskets in gasoline. I think that made a huge difference in sealing everything up. So yeah, gonna let this sit for a minute and then throw it on the bike, see what happens. Alright, stop and choke now. See how it kind of starts stumbling? So if it gets a little low, it won't really hold that idle. And if I adjust it down here, bring it up a little. But sounds good. So the next step here, next step is going to be putting the carb sync on it, seeing what's going on with that. Might just be a little bit of an imbalance there. And yeah, I don't know how much of that I might. I'll probably film it, but it'll probably be in a separate episode because he's going to take this thing back on Monday. So in the meantime, success for right now. He can ride it around the paddock at Road America, which is what he wanted to do. I'm not done with this though. I am absolutely not satisfied yet with how this runs. Because now, the only thing we've done at this point is waste $200 to fix a fuel leak. And it runs exactly the same as it did before. And quite honestly, it was just leaking a little bit of fuel. It wasn't really the end of the world. It could have still been running like this. And now, you know, these carburetors though, they're clean now. They're good. We've gone through them now. So now we know, you know, you got to have a starting point. You got to have some known good things. So now that we know the carburetors are good, you know, you can start checking out other things. But, yeah, this thing's sweet. More to come. More to come. So what's next for this thing? Well, first of all, I'm not crazy. We aren't just back to square one, honestly. You know, basically the way the bike came here, it was leaking some fuel and it was running lean. And it had this, it wouldn't really idle properly either. So I initially diagnosed it as, because the carbs were already leaking, I knew the floats were stuck. I knew they had to be clogged up a little bit. They didn't look, you know, they looked a little rough. They needed a service. With carbureted bikes, you got to start there. If you don't have a clean, good running fuel system, you can't really diagnose anything else properly because you don't know if your misfires are fuel or if they're spark. And you don't have a computer to really tell you what's going on in there. So basically tried to, ended up in carburetor hell, rebuilding these things, fighting them. But we got to the point where now they're on there, and call me crazy, but I think it's running really smooth now. And I actually just pulled the plug a little earlier just to check. And unfortunately, I didn't take earlier. These used to be like white hot, like super lean. You know what I mean? And now, if you pull them out, I'm really happy about this, honestly, because I had it running for quite a minute, and they were, I mean, because this thing had a big lean running problem, and sometimes it feels like you never get anything accomplished. Look at that. I'll just take a picture of them. I don't know why I'm doing this. Let's take a picture. So, I'd say that's an improvement. We're no longer running lean, you know? And sometimes you take the small wins. So, where are we going to go from here with, in terms of this video and this bike? Well, at this point, we've kind of done all we can do within the time that we have, because as I mentioned earlier, this customer is actually bringing this to a very cool, very big classic bike show out in the Midwest here at a big racetrack for the Superbike racing weekend. So this bike's going to be there, and he wants it there. He was like, I don't even care if it's running. I just, you know. So we got it so he can ride it around on the paddock at least and just kind of, you know, enjoy it while he's there. And then when he comes back, I'm going to mull over like a game plan. I'm going to tweak this thing a little bit tomorrow, do some carb balancing, do some basic investigation here, see what I can find, and then come up with a plan of attack of what I think might be going on, where we can go from here. Because remember, now we have a known solid fact. The carburetors are good. They're running right. So, and I'm going to double check for a couple small tuning things on there, but we got good carburetors. So that's one thing that we can now check off. Compression, I think, was good. It might have been low on one of those cylinders. I don't know if I even checked it, but I'll go through, check that, check the spark, and then just kind of see where we're at. You know, I think going in the valves might be the next possible exploration. But, you know, I'm going to, like when I talked to Dan, you know, he thinks it's a good idea for me to get away from this bike for a minute because I've been haunted by it for like a month now, but it's probably right. So come up with a couple ideas, see where we go from here. But rest assured, I do not think this is the last time this bike is here. We're not done with this battle, and I still got some fight left in me, so I'm ready for round two. But for right now, tomorrow, I'm gonna sync these carbs up, take it for a ride, and actually see what this thing's about. I've never ridden a GS1000 before. Dan has begged me to ride this thing. He's like, you gotta ride it, you gotta ride it. I made him a deal if I at least fixed it, or at least just got it running again, for God's sake, that I would take him up on it and I would take it around the block. So I'm very excited. I've never ridden a GS1000 before. My Suzuki, it's a GS650, so it's the smaller version of this bike. I'm very curious what the difference is like. And of course, this isn't a regular GS1000. This is the baddest, the best, the rarest, most exclusive one that you could find. So what a way to enjoy my first GS1000 experience. So Dan, if you're watching this, absolutely thank you so much for the privilege of working on your bike. This is a fan favorite. I've had so many of my friends reach out to me that this is their favorite bike that they've seen me work on so far. And you just never get to see them. So it's really cool to get it out in front of the public a little bit. But I, for one, am really looking forward to that ride tomorrow. So let me get all this stuff buttoned back up, tune it. Actually, what I got to do now is I got to edit this video for you guys. So I'll see you later. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you don't feel like we're just fighting an uphill battle here and just never getting anything done. But okay, we got a lovely shop assistant here today. Okay, so last night where we left off, it was having that weird issue where it's stalling out at idle and then also kind of starting a little funny. So I figured I would test the valves. So we got the engine on top dead center right now, and we're going to do a leak down test, which is you should inflate the engine to a certain PSI. Go ahead and try and even inflate it to a PSI. Yeah, and then it's supposed to be airtight at this point, and we're gonna just double check a couple things because this is crazy, but you could just feel it. Go ahead and do it again.
Or you want to put this in front of it?
Oh yeah, good idea. Go ahead. One more time. There you go.
You can't even get to a PSI.
That's crazy. So the exhaust valves are known to get really tight on these over time, and they're supposed to be checked every 5,000 miles, and there's 50,000 miles on this bike. And nobody knows when they were done. So if they had tightened up to the point where they're just wide open, it's going to have a lot of issues like it does. So we're going to check the valve clearances at some point. I don't know if today or later or whatever, but maybe. But they need to be done. So, okay.
Back to the drawing board.
Back to the drawing board. It looks sick, though.
It does look so good.
All right, it's probably going to be a part 3 on this then. So I think I'm going to be done for now. Oh, you can't ride on a bike with valves like this because it'll burn them up. So you could eventually do a lot more damage. And then once you burn them up, you can't really, you got to get new valves. Whereas right now, all you have to do is adjust them and you can fix everything. So that's what we want to do. So that's why we're not going to ride it today, even though I wish I could. But all right, guys, thanks for watching. Okay, redoing this test here. So top dead center on the compression stroke on cylinder 1. Can you see that? That's a T and that line is perfectly lined up. We got the bike strapped down, all the preload taken out of it for the chain and the everything. So this should be locked into top dead center on the compression stroke for cylinder number 1, which we have our air hose hooked up to. And then Tyler, if you could just give us an awesome little demo here. Go ahead and try and build up a little bit of pressure in there. Oh, there we go. So it did spin the wheel. Let me reset this real quick. Demo. It's just blowing just a little bit out the exhaust. I don't know if you're gonna be able to see that over there. You gonna be able to see that over there?
Yep.
Okay. Back around. Okay. You ready?
Ready.
All right.
Let me know when.
And go ahead and hit it. There you go.
That's obvious.
Yeah.
That's very obvious. That has a lot of air.
And that's you know, hold on. Let me just get it a little bit closer. Okay. Do it one more time.
1, 2, 3.
There you go. Do it one more time. One more time. Yeah. There you go. One more time again. And I'm holding it, you know, lining it up, just adjusting it for top dead center. And then, oh, you know what? Pan around here. The engine, this is my GS650. Yeah, he's hanging.
Okay.
So this is the same. This is on top dead center. And then you got, this is exactly how it sits in the bike. Same way. Cylinder 4, 3, 2, 1. And then you can see that this cam lobe is pointing out this way. This one is pointing out this way. There's your valve. There's your valve. And there's a clearance that's supposed to be in there. This is a blown engine. 1 second, let me just grab this little feeler gauge. So that one is, and this is, again, a contributing factor. These valves are supposed to be adjusted every 5,000 miles. And you can see that mine, the engine did blow on this. And this is the, I mean, look at it. This is like paper thin. Look at this. This is metal, but it's like, and if we try and stick this.
It's like a loose leaf piece of paper.
It doesn't, see that? It won't go. And the lobe of that cam, if you kind of shoot it from this side, I don't know if you can see it. It might be too close. Try to pull it back. Oh, you got it? Oh, that's good. Oh, man, I thought it was way closer. So, and this is the intake one. And the intake one is, you can just barely slide it through. Just barely. It's tugging on it a little bit. And the exhaust one, which the forum people say closes up, you cannot slide anything through. So the exhaust valves tend to leak. They got to be adjusted. I think these are leaking. They got to be adjusted. So the thing is, we need a valve cover gasket to do this, because as you can see, the valve cover gasket already kind of broke apart on mine. Right here, just taking this off of here. So not going to open that up without that, but that's enough of a test for me to confirm. I think that these exhaust valves are leaking. So what have we learned? You know, when it comes to old bikes or old anything, when you're diagnosing it, there can be a lot of contributing factors that could be causing a lot of different things. When it came in here, it had a lean running condition. You know, spark plugs were white hot, and now they're nice chocolate brown because we rebuilt those carburetors, finally got them running properly, and we know we got good fuel now. And we got this idle issue because these valves are out of spec, and it's another neglected maintenance item. Most of the time when you're buying something old that's running, it's just a lot of neglected maintenance that you got to take care of. And it could cost a little bit of money, but once you do it, you'll have a service window of roughly around 5,000 miles or so for most bikes. And at that point, you're going to be able to enjoy these things, ride them for another roughly 2 years, essentially, is what that looks like. And typically, you know, 2 years is a long enough time for you to enjoy it, ride it, get your use out of it, and then sell it and still get your money back on it. So we got to get this thing ready for Motorfest, so I got to get the tank, everything back on this bike. But thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Shout out to Tyler. Thank you for holding the camera, helping me out a little bit. And I'm sure this is going to be back. I'm sure we're going to have more on this, because I'd really like to actually fix this. But in the time being, for right now, it runs, it's good. Can't complain. All right, guys. Take care.
I done got me a 10, you know I'm about the business, I don't want no limit, I give